Welcome to MMA Mondays. This is Imran and the Wallow Way, and I got my special friend, good buddy Chris Grayson on the show today, my co-host of Ascend Perform, and we got a special guest for everyone today. Mrs. Julianna Peña is going to be visiting us soon, sixth-ranked women's bantamweight of the UFC. But until then, we got a lot to discuss. Mr. Chris Grayson, how you doing?
Good.
How you doing?
I'm
So
good.
we got an exciting show today, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, it
Julianna's-
should be real good.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. Some questions for Julianna, a lot to discuss in terms of some of her history and also what's next. But before we get there, we had a group of fights on Saturday, man. What did you think? I know your boy was supposed to fight, and he did not fight because of COVID. So what were your overall impressions of the card on Saturday?
I thought it was good. Yeah, you're talking about Gregor Gillespie. I don't remember when I saw him the first time and saw that, man, this guy, I thought that this guy's going to be a contender, man. This guy's wrestling unbelievable. And then you heard the pedigree, and but then, unfortunately, his last fight against Kevin Lee, who I happen to like a lot too, caught him with that head kick. Uh-oh. Hey, what's up?
What's going on, guys?
Nothing.
Hey, Julianna, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for joining. We know. You got here right on time.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm late. I almost got in 10 accidents to
I
get
can
here.
imagine. I can
No, you
imagine.
should, yeah.
I've driven with you. Yeah.
I was gonna say Chris has driven with me before. He knows what it's like.
I remember.
so-
I remember the not the pickup truck. You had some type of truck.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Ford
she had a-
F-150.
Yeah, that thing was massive.
Yeah, no, we traded her in, but my mom's like, "You're gonna rear-end somebody, and they're gonna come and get you, and they're gonna sue you and say that their neck is broken. You better slow down." I'm like, "I gotta go, Mom." And to that, Chris, I would say, "Did you die? Like, you're still alive? Yeah, you're good."
Oh, no. I
I'm
did
actually
not die.
I'm actually a good driver.
Come on. Hey, listen, last time I called a woman a bad driver, she got pissed at me this not too long ago, so I try not to do that anymore, but
That's so funny.
Yeah, I was just telling him that you got that new BMW. I'm like, I hope she doesn't, because that's a nice car.
It is. I got mad the other day because somebody dinged my door.
Really?
Ding.
Dang.
Yeah, big old dent. I'm not too happy about that.
Yeah, I'd be pissed about that. What'd you buy at the outlet?
Oh my gosh. I just had to return the Carter's clothes for my kid.
Okay.
And then my mom came downstairs frantic, crying, I lost my phone and it's gone. And so I'm like, well, did you check the bag that you just bought your shirt in? She's like, no, but I know that the lady behind the counter, I set it out when I took my wallet out. When I asked her for it, she said no, and she probably has it. Somebody took it. I'm like, well, let's go check the car. She checked the car, was tucked in between the seat. And I'm like, see, it's right there. You owe that lady an apology. She's like, I'm sorry, God, please forgive me. and so then we were driving home, and she was like, you know what? She was like, I know when I dropped it, you turned around the corner and it fell out of my hand, and then it went into the side of the seat, and I couldn't find it. And I was like, oh, it's my fault. Okay, yeah. I'm sorry.
That's funny. When does she go back to Spokane?
My dad has 2 more weeks working in New York, and then she'll go back with him. I think I'm gonna get them for a week to stay and do all the daddy chores that I need them to do, fix that, for example, and then they'll leave. So I got her probably for at least 3 more weeks.
Cool.
Yeah.
My dad should be coming here this weekend too, and I'm getting the chores ready.
Oh, I know. That's what I'm saying. My dad's like, she better have her list ready because I gotta go. But I'll tell you, it is so nice to have my mom here. She sees how much I work, training twice a day, going from this one to the next one and to the next one. And she's like, I don't know how you do it, And I take Issa with me. So it's I got to get her stuff ready, my stuff ready, and then in and out and in and out and in and out. And so it is such a blessing. Thank you, God, to have my mom here to help me out, because it makes my life 10 times easier.
That's awesome. It's too bad she's got to go,
I know. I told her yesterday, I said, well, I got to go meet with my Chicago mom so that she can help me out with something else. And she just started bawling. And she's
really?
I don't want to go. I want to stay. And I'm like, yeah, I know, you should.
Where's your cousin? Is he still there?
No, he doesn't live here. He lives in Joliet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, whatever. Yeah.
So Juliana, we were talking about, I don't know, did you watch the fights on Saturday?
Yeah, I did. Well, I watched a few of them. But yeah, which ones did you guys like?
Did you watch Brunson versus Holland? Did you get the main event?
Yeah.
I
Wh-
didn't, to be honest, I didn't really like that fight. I don't understand what the hell Holland was thinking, man. Like, I mean, I get talking and that's your thing,
Yeah.
but like, dude, you're talking so much. You're not fighting, man. Like, if I was Dana White, I could imagine him being pissed at that fight, to be honest. But I could be wrong.
Dana likes drama. He likes that kind of like, any sort of chaos he's watching. So I don't think that it bothered him that much. I don't know, to be honest. I was watching another movie and I had it in the corner on my screen with the volume down. So I didn't realize he was talking quite as much as he was until I saw all the comments after. But that was to me a case of big brother, little brother. You know what I mean? Like it looks like he just got big brothered, during the whole fight.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't think of it like that, but that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what was interesting though is he kept his poise the entire time. Every time he got taken down, and Brunson was working trying to get different submissions, like he kept his poise. He didn't panic. I mean, he took some shots to the face as well. But I see a lot of potential just in what I saw in the main event.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would think you're so exhausted from just being taken down and going through a fight that you have no energy to talk. But he was literally nonstop talking the whole time.
Yeah.
Well, if you've trained with Chris, you know that like that talking and working pace and like being able to like have a depleted conversation, but I can still talk to you, but I'm still working. You know what I'm talking about, Chris?
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, every time that like I would do some sort of training with Chris, it would be like you want to be able to like breathe, but like still be able to like have a little bit of a conversation if somebody was talking to you. And I feel like that's probably how it was. It probably didn't exert him too much to be talking that entire time.
I want to move because we got as Chris calls it, we got the meat and potatoes, which we're gonna get to in a few minutes. But I wanted to also ask you about Habib Nurmagomedov because he officially retired. I think a lot of us knew he was retired, but just as a fellow fighter, somebody who's in the division in the UFC, what were your thoughts about his official retirement?
I was sad, because I didn't think that it was going to like happen 100% for sure. And so now to see that it absolutely is the case, it's kind of like heartbreaking a little bit. Khabib has given us so much good material over the years that like I catch myself looking him up just to watch what he would do. So to see that I'm not going to be able to do that and see the evolving of Khabib is a little bit heartbreaking. And honestly, I didn't believe it. You know how many times I've heard certain fighters say that they're retired and then they come back. So it's almost like one of those things where it's like, he says he's going to be retired, but I bet you he'll come back. That part of me is holding out hope that I think that like eventually, maybe like not tomorrow, maybe not in a year, but in 2-3 years, you never know. He could probably be making his big return back for that big payday again. So we'll see. But initially I was sad.
I don't think he's. I mean, personally, just from like understanding the culture a little bit and the values and whatnot, I think he's done. And I think just like how much support he's given his boys and the guys that train with him, you can tell that he's really transitioning to like the full coaching side of things and rolling with the guys and with his other business ventures. And he's got like some supplement company or some protein bar. He's got some farm business that he started, agricultural business. I think he's done. But it's real interesting to see somebody who's in his prime still, right? In his early to mid 30s. And he's able to sacrifice the ego and give his best effort when it comes to like advice, training, and coaching to his partners. Because at that point, I could see, because you're still in your prime, it's hard for you to kind of let go of that allure of being the best and wanting to like share your secrets and share your techniques with guys who could eventually or maybe fight you.
Yeah, and to me, it's almost like when you finally earn your black belt, like you think, okay, it stops. Actually, when you earn your black belt, that's when things actually begin again. And for Khabib, it's like his job now is to give back to the sport, just like you give back once you turn black belt. Once you turn black belt, your mission is to give back and to teach the knowledge to other people and the up and comers. And that's really what the sport is all about. You need people like that. And that's eventually what I'll do in the future and what I think a lot of fighters are going to do. There's no way you can just walk away from the sport. Khabib has a bolster of men, brothers, cousins, family members, that he's going to make sure that he trains up right because they are representing his name and his ideologies in fighting. And so I think that it's very important. He will play a very important role in the upbringing of a lot of the Russian talent that I see coming out from his country.
Chris, any follow up on that, man? Any questions?
No. I mean, I agree with what you said, Imran. I don't think he's going to come back, and I agree with what Julianna just said 100% too. Yeah, I think that's the role he's going to play. He said he was going to play that role, and he does have so many people that he could work with and help. And I agree 100% with both of you guys.
Random question for you, Julianna. Is it true that you got into MMA by joining a kickboxing like a cardio kickboxing class?
Yeah, I mean, like, let's just cut the BS. I was fat and I needed to lose weight, so I joined a women's cardio kickboxing class to lose some weight, and that's kind of how I got started.
Well, I mean, just real quick, because I think, obviously, if you come back, I really want to pick apart your history. And like when we do these interviews, I don't want to talk about just the fights and just like what's coming up, but also to get in the minds of the fighter. And especially yourself, 11-4, you won the Ultimate Fighter, you fought like Shevchenko, Kat Zingano, all these big names. So obviously to pick apart like the motivation, the training, the history is really important. I mean, like, what insight can you give us quickly in terms of like what it takes to be, and I'm going to put it very bluntly, like what it takes to be a killer, and like the kind of motivation that you have to have on a regular basis to keep kind of striving? Because other people in your position, they would have said, okay, I made it to the UFC. I've had fights. I've won fights. I won the Ultimate Fighter. I'm good. But what keeps you kind of just moving?
First off, you have to be real with yourself and take a good hard look in the mirror. There's two types of people out there. Those that can walk across the fire bed of coals and do that, and then those that can't, and I'm just that type of person that's willing to walk through a little bit of a hotter fire than the normal person. And that means that, I chose fighting as a career, and I chose fighting as a avenue to pursue my passions. And this was my calling, and this was my purpose. And so one thing that you have to know is you either got it or you don't. You're either a killer or you're not. And if you're not, you're definitely in the wrong sport. But you see some people that try to be killers, and they, their fights are not really that great. They go out there, it looks like they're sparring. They look like they're having a kickboxing match, and that's just not my style of fighting. My style of fighting has always been aggression and pressure and in your face, and I'm not going to stop. And I think that is just who I am at my core. And so that type of thing you can't teach. And like I said, you either got it or you don't, and you either know if you can walk through it or you can't, so you got to be real with yourself, number one. And number two, the motivation. I think I enjoy the thrill of knowing me and you are going to go toe to toe, and may the best woman win, or in your guys' cases, may the best man win. And to have that competing and to go compete and go mano y mano and toe to toe to figure out who's going to win, I think is very motivating in itself. Like, this guy's going to try to kill me. Like, I have to do everything in my power to make sure that I kill them first, because it's either kill or be killed, and it's either win or lose, and the wins are so extreme, and the lows and the losing is so low, so you want to make sure that just that in itself puts so much pressure on your shoulders. The second that you sign on the dotted line and take that fight, you're like, that's enough motivation, especially on national television. That's enough motivation for me to want to get out of bed and go to practice 2 times a day, every day, nonstop until I get inside that octagon.
Yeah. What's interesting is I coach basketball. I'm coaching like 16-year-olds, and I always tell my kids that you can hide on the court. I don't want them to hide, but I say, I know when you're hiding on the court, because a player who maybe doesn't know what he's doing on the offensive side and is maybe lost in terms of what we're running or what plays we're running, he can kind of move around, set a few screens, and act like he's busy. And if you don't have that critical eye, you'll think, okay, he's involved, he's engaged. But I think in team sports, it's very easy to sometimes hide and kind of like mitigate what you're not doing. But in something like MMA, boxing, it's very hard to hide, because it's like you said, mano a mano, one-on-one. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, it's like that too, and this sport is a game of inches, where in like other sports you can get away with making some certain mistakes, and you can get away with making mistakes in an MMA fight because nothing ever goes according to plan or how it's supposed to go. But for the most part, it's a game of inches and every inch matters, like chess. Like once you make that first, mistake, then it's a snowball. And then it's like you already dug yourself 6 feet and there's no getting out of it. And that's how you lose. And it literally happens in a matter of seconds and a matter of inches. So it's very much a mindset thing as well. You have to make sure that your mind is as sharp as possible, and that you're 110% focused. Focus is a big thing, I think.
Chris, I have to ask you, obviously, I don't know how, like, obviously our viewers know this, but you're like in my opinion, a top class strength and conditioning coach. You work with multiple athletes from different fields, and obviously you've worked with Julianna. So from your mind, what do you see, or what have you seen when you train someone like Julianna to go back onto this like premise of being a killer and someone who's always getting it and staying motivated? Like, what have you seen from your perspective that just sticks out? Sorry, I had you on mute. My bad.
Yeah. I mean, everything that she's saying, I could see that in her. So it's self-evident, man. Like, when somebody's serious, or at least me, I feel like I know when somebody's serious and motivated, when somebody's like, you say you want it, man, but you ain't really you're not willing to do the things that wanting it requires. So you really don't want it at all. So you're just wasting my time. So, I mean, a lot of the people I train, not all of them were athletes. So you can relate that with people that even want to lose weight. People will say what they want, but when it comes down to the work that they have to do in order to get it, they're not really willing to do that work. They just want some magic pill, or they want to put the responsibility on you. And really it's like, no, you can't put the responsibility on me. You need to want it more than I want it for you. And it's up to you. I'm just like a guide or a Sherpa, so to speak. I'll help you along the way, but it's you got to be self-motivated, man. So, it's extremely obvious with her.
You've talked about in the past, Chris. I know, like, I've been at the gym with you, and there's individuals who don't really go through the routines and the exercises that you design. And I've been in the gym when Julianna is working out, and it seems like, like with some of the people who are built different, like whatever you give them or whatever is part of the program, they just go through it, right? There's no obstacle that they're not going to overcome. So is that a correct observation?
Yeah, it's usually, to be honest, though, it's not the issue in the gym. And from my perspective, it's the issue when they leave the gym. So my job as a coach, whether I'm training, 35-year-old accountant who needs to lose 40 pounds or a pro athlete or something like that, my number one responsibility is to do no harm. And I'm trying to train them and get the adaptations that I want in a pain-free environment. So if somebody's got a legitimate gripe in the gym because of pain or whatnot, then you make changes, or somebody comes in Julianna's case from her other part of her sport, whether it's kickboxing, grappling, or whatnot, and she's injured, then you course correct her. You have to go on kind of like, change the plan at the last minute, which is fine. That's just the reality of training athletes.
And that's also a thing that like a lot of people still as coaches don't understand. They just think, oh, we'll push through it and, maybe it'll feel better tomorrow. That's why I think sets aside Chris from a different perspective, because anything that you do that causes pain or something that is uncomfortable, he can instantly change it on the fly so that it can be adjusted to you so that it's not painful, and find a different avenue to go down. And I've always appreciated that about him. And I've had strength and conditioning coaches that couldn't do that. And that's how you know whether they're worth a lick or not.
Yeah.
So let's get to the meat and potatoes, Julianna. We've been doing some research, and there's been something brewing for the last 2 to 4 weeks. And I just saw your interview. Me and Chris were talking about it before the show with Ariel.
Yeah, it was great. That was awesome.
I might have been a little too fired up. Sorry.
So we're gonna have to ask you the same question Ariel's asked you, because like Ariel, I'm also I used to be a big fan of the WWE or at that time the WWF. So have you been watching wrestling? Have you been watching professional wrestling?
My brother. Okay, I'm a baby of 4, and I always say this in my interviews. My siblings, they beat the crap out of me. My cousins, like I was always getting the tail end of a lot of beatings. But my brother and my cousins, we grew up watching the WWE. We grew up doing people's elbows and, all sorts of junk. And my favorite pro wrestler was The Undertaker for a long time. And I just think that growing up in that era where, wrestling was huge, kind of played a part as to why I was, being the dummy getting thrown around the room all the time. And so it's not that I've recently been watching wrestling. It's just kind of always been in me from childhood, that's just kind of, and I realize, we are entertainers in some aspect. I got to get people interested in watching my fight, but the core message of what I'm trying to say is truly genuine, and it comes from the heart, and it comes from a place of frustration, and it is my truth. And so I get worked up because I feel like this is my truth, and that's just what I have to say about that. So
Chris, you want to add anything before I hog the mic?
No, but when I watched it, it's nice to see her because she's my friend. She's not just somebody I train; she's my friend. So when I saw that, I'm very happy to see my friend get attention like that, and get what she deserves. And 100%, I could tell because I know you, Julianna. It is from the core. That is you. So,
yeah.
But I don't know if I've missed some interviews. I don't see every little thing, but I don't remember you being that hyped up. How I do think that though, some people need to be to get the fans pumped up for it, or try to make some noise about it. So I think it was awesome, and I hope to God you're wrong. I hope Amanda Nunes does take that fight, and she sees that, and she goes, you know what, she's got a point. And look, I personally, I don't care what Amanda Nunes thinks. Okay, she could think you have a point and she'll do it, or she could think I'm going to shut this chick's mouth up. I don't care. I just want you to get the fight.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And
yeah.
I hope you're wrong. I hope you do get the fight. I don't know who else they're going to give it to. Like everything you just said. There's who else? There's nobody else.
Yeah, but it's not even so much of a who else thing for me. It's also I'm the only one that I feel like actually deserves it, especially with us joining the UFC at the same time and being parallel in careers the entire time. She has one less loss than I do, and her wins over girls that I have lost to, she was struggling with both of those girls during the entire fight.
Yeah.
And I was dominating those girls up until I, made a tiny error that we were talking about earlier before. It's a game of inches. So my tiny error cost me, but I was dominating. I was on my way to winning those fights. Whereas if you look at her fighting them, she's struggling the entire time. And like I said, I only have one less loss than she does in the UFC. Otherwise, our records are very similar, and nobody else in my division has a record like that besides her and myself. So it's not well, who else? Well, I guess Julianna, because she's the only one left. It's no, actually, Julianna makes perfect sense. And what she's saying is actually facts. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to be cocky. I'm just trying to say very humbly, this is the fight that makes sense for me, and this is the only one that I care about. And especially her not having a fight right now, and me not having a fight right now, and her not defending her belt since 2019. For me, this is the only fight that I see and the only fight that makes sense.
Yeah, what's interesting is, so her one loss came against, was it Kat?
Yes.
And you beat Kat, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you like you said, you only have one less loss, or one more loss than her. How frustrating is it in terms of, now you were preparing for Holly Holm, right? And that fight's not going to happen. So what's the mindset? Are you still training? Are you still prepping in case there is a fight or this fight does materialize?
I'm very frustrated, because I talked to the UFC brass and, everybody heard it. Dana said that's the fight to make. So one thing that we need to get straight here is Amanda is the boss. Amanda decides when she wants to fight. Amanda decides who she fights, and Amanda decides when she's ready to fight. And so I can talk to the UFC brass all day, but as long as Amanda doesn't want to fight, there's going to be no fight. So Dana said that that's the match to make. She agreed, but then she said that I needed to go get in the mix and fight Jermaine. And then she told the brass that she doesn't want to fight me because I haven't made myself a contender enough for her. And this is very frustrating for me. I'll get to the other point, but then I'll go back to me not making a contender for her. An article just came out 2 or 3 days ago about her addressing me and saying, yes, I do want to fight Julianna. And when that time happens, I envision my hand getting raised or whatever. Okay, well, you admitted that you want to fight me. And so why isn't that fight happening? Why isn't that materializing? Behind closed doors, what's being told to me is she's not going to fight me until I win one more to make myself a contender for her. But to the public, she's trying to say, oh, yeah, I'll fight her. And when that fight happens, I'll get my hand raised. It's like, you're lying, actually, and you shouldn't lie, because it's been very clear to me, not once, but twice, that you're not going to fight me until I make myself a contender. Now, talking about making myself a contender, Holly beat Megan Anderson. Felicia Spencer beat Megan Anderson. And then Megan Anderson fought 2 girls at 145, both of them unranked, both of them making their UFC debut. She got 2 wins, and now all of a sudden Amanda Nunes is obsessed with her because Megan Anderson is just this giant contender. And now she wants to fight Megan Anderson, even though, Holly already beat her and Felicia already beat her. Like, she's obsessed with Megan Anderson all of a sudden because she's just giant contender. Like, I am actually the real contender. You don't fight contenders, Amanda, because I am the contender. I know it. She knows it. They know it. Everybody knows it. But yet she's still saying, no, you haven't made yourself a contender for me. You got to fight one more and win one more. It's like, Holly, you fought Holly after she was 1-4. Was Holly a gigantic contender? After Megan got stomped by both of these girls, now all of a sudden she's a giant contender? Like, baby, you don't fight contenders. You do not fight contenders. I am the contender, and you want nothing to do with me in a fight. So whatever, to me, I'm like, she's lying. She's lying.
Is it style? Is it the style difference? Is that what you think it is? Like, in terms of stylistically, you guys are just at the opposite ends, or she's worried about what you present?
I believe that she knows that it's not going to be a walk in the park for her like all the other fights that she's had. She's fought strikers after strikers after strikers, girls that, want to strike with her, not somebody that wants to grapple and wrestle with her, because the last time that happened to her, she curled up in the fetal position and had the referees come and save her, so it's just a stylistic matchup. And for me, it just doesn't make sense to go fight some other striker or somebody else when I know that that's a better matchup for me personally.
Chris.
Yeah.
I'm pushing it to you, man. Otherwise, I'm going to keep asking questions.
I got nothing, man. It's just everything that she just said about Megan Anderson. How does that make sense? That that's ridiculous.
Not only that, but Megan Anderson never fought in the UFC as many times as I have. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I wonder. Does the UFC think like it's? I don't know, man. Like, what your thoughts are on this? But over the last, 2 or 3 years, it seems like before the UFC was having people fight based off of rank. Now it's starting to become more like, okay, this person is. It's not necessarily about rank. It's about like just the numbers, like what kind of pay-per-view numbers we're going to get. And people that are ranked higher than these people aren't getting the shot that they deserve. And somebody that really has no business fighting for a title or even fighting somebody super high ranked is getting a fight because they think that, our number's going to be higher because this person, their personality or something that they said. I don't get it.
I mean, I've been doing my part to hype the fight. It would be really easy to, see that could dang near sell itself.
Yeah.
But with that being said, there's crazier things that have happened. They've given other girls title shots after being 0-2. They've, Michael Chandler just joined the UFC. He won one fight, and now he's getting a title shot. You know what I mean? Like, the crazier things have happened. But for some reason, for me, now you got to win one more. It's like, it's always one more. And I was in line to fight her after I beat Kat Zingano. I was 7-0 at the time. And she said, no, she didn't want to fight me, that I had to fight Valentina first. And then I took that fight, even though I think I should have just sat and waited, and then they would have offered it to me after that. But I ended up taking the fight, and it's always just one more. When I beat Nico Montano and came back after having a baby for 2 years off, I won that fight, and it was still, no, one more. It's always one more for me. So, it is what it is. There's not really too much I can do about it, other than the fact that she said in an interview a couple days that she will get her hand raised against me. So to that, I rebuttal and say, Amanda, I'm ready. I'm ready. Here I am. You said that you want to fight me. You're putting my name in your mouth, and you said that you're going to get your hand raised. Well, here I am. I'm ready. Let's do this. What's the holdup? What's taking so long? Like, let's go. Like, I'm ready to go. Let's go.
So, in terms of, you brought up Valentina. I mean, I was watching the Valentina fight before this. Super competitive. So I'm trying to really figure out why the fight's not materializing. It seems like your fights are very like you go for it, right? So I was watching the Valentina fight. You guys are like pushed against the cage. So there's like so many reversals. You guys are on the ground going at it. So I'm trying to wonder like what it could be other than. So I'll say this. It reminds me somewhat like the whole Conor Khabib buildup before the whole incident with the dolly and whatnot, where like Khabib was itching for that fight for some time. And I don't know how much you guys followed like the years before they fought each other, what they were saying about each other in the media. But it really seemed, in my opinion, McGregor didn't want to fight him. And what he was using as an excuse, it could not be an excuse. What he was saying is that the numbers didn't make sense and that Khabib had to prove himself more. And then, maybe a couple more wins and that he would consider like fighting him. So I see some similarities in that sense. And that's what it tends me to believe that there could be like a stylistic difference. And like you said, that it'll just be a harder fight.
Yeah, I mean, in that Valentina fight, had there been 10 more seconds on the clock, I would have finished her in round 1 with an armbar, but that's just the flip side of this game. It can go up and it can go down and anything can happen. You never know. I can only guarantee one thing, that Amanda will be in the toughest fight of her life. And the only way that she beats me is off of her back by submission. And that's the only way that she would be able to win. And that would be my dumbass fault for getting submitted off of being in top position. And, I'm not guaranteeing anything other than the fact that it's 100% going to be the worst stylistic matchup for her and a nightmare of a fight for her. So I think that she knows that. The people that work for her are very smart. They know that. And it's just one of those things where it's like Tyson Holyfield, Tyson didn't want to fight Holyfield forever. He was running away from Holyfield. He only had no choice but to fight Holyfield after he was broken out of jail and needed some more money, Holyfield was nice and trying to say, yeah, I want to fight with Tyson. I want to fight with Tyson. But he wasn't as vocal as probably he should have been. Tyson was a hitter. He was putting away people in 10 seconds, whereas Holyfield had to take his time to grind you down. And I think that's kind of how it is here in this instance. She knows matchup-wise, I'm a bad matchup for her. And at the end of me grinding her down, that it will wear on her. And I think that, she's being smart by doing everything possible to maintain and hold on to her belts. But if you're the best and you say you're the best and I think that I'm best and that I can beat you, then why don't you prove it? If I'm such not a contender, if I'm such a cupcake and you can walk right through me, then why don't you walk right through me then? Why don't you come shut my mouth up? You know what I mean? Let's see.
Like she's done to others. Like, so what's the difference in terms of, if that's what she believes you are, she should prove it just like she has with her previous fights in terms of some of the individuals that she fought with losing records, etc.
100%.
It's interesting that you bring up that example of Holyfield and Tyson. I interviewed someone last week who's like a boxing enthusiast, and he was talking about Marvin Hagler because Marvelous Marvin just passed away last week.
R.I.P. Marvin.
Yeah, what was interesting about Marvin was like straight killer, right? The guy would just take on anybody. He would want to fight the best, and he would just try ripping their head off and run right through them. And it's interesting because we were comparing Michael Jordan and Marvin Hagler last week in terms of killer mentality and wanting to go against the best and wanting to like get the best, right? So if you really want to go down in that category, you have to be active, and it seems like you have to also want to fight the best or like top ranked fighters in your division. So that's a very interesting take. Again, hoping something materializes for you, because would love to see it. Obviously, I've known you through Chris for a couple of years and see you training at the gym, so it would be great to see you fight. I talk about you all the time. I was telling you the other day to my Dallas MMA group that I'm part of, and I shared the link with them now, so they're probably watching this. But again, Julianna, just like elaborate, because again, a lot of this seems super frustrating, but I still sense positivity, happiness. Another thing is you find elite fighters who lose, and then it takes time for them to get back in, because that, like the mental side of it, right? When you get knocked out and you're not used to getting knocked out, or when you tap out and you're not used to tapping, or when you lose and you're used to winning, there's something that happens to the mind. But it seems like you're ready to just, again, even though you've had a couple losses, to go straight back in there and just swing for the fences.
Right. I mean, what kind of fighter mentality would it be if I lost and curled up in a corner and said I never wanted to do it again? I mean, that's what we were talking about in the very beginning. You either have to know that you got it or you don't. And if you got to know if you're going to walk through that fire again. It's like falling off a horse. You're either going to let that horse own you, or you're going to get back on the horse and ride again. And I am 100% ready to fight the best and to go out there and, go toe to toe. Let's see what you got. Let's see what I got. And may the best woman win. And, I think that regardless of losses, you cannot let that deter you from what your goal is. That just means that you just got to try to strive for a little bit more. The way that I see it is, it's like when people talk negatively to you, and I get a lot of negativity because when you call out the champ, you're going to get a lot of backlash. So I'm getting death threats. I can't even look at my Instagram. I can't even look at anything because of how hated I am for saying that I even want a shot at the champ. And to that, I would say, if I listened to all the negativity and all the bad stuff that people have said about me over the years, I would have jumped out of a window a long time ago. You cannot let these types of things get to you and get you off course. And, you have to have thick skin, and you have to be able to get back on the horse and say confidently, I will ride again. And that's all in the mindset. And it's crazy because you can, power lift 310 pounds and squat, whatever, and do this and that or the other, be the most athletic person in the world. But if you don't have it up here, you're not going to be able to have a lot of success inside there, because it's all at the end of the day mental thing. And my mentality is strong, my personality is strong, and I'm confident in my skills and what I am capable of doing. And it's been years and years of frustration where I see that on a payout that Amanda got $1.9 million and Megan Anderson got X amount. And to me, it's frustrating because here I am busting my ass in the UFC for the last 8 years or 9 years I've been with the company. And it's like, you are not $1.9 million better than me. I don't care who you are. You absolutely are not. And I refuse to believe that. So yes, I'm going to speak up and say my truth, because I've actually been busting my ass grinding in this sport for the last 13 years. I've done it all. I've torn it all. And I'm still here to stay. I've had babies. I'm still here to stay. I've been run over by a car. I'm still here to stay. I have fought dudes on the street and had my eye swollen shut for 3 days and 11 stitches in my eye. And I'm still here, So this is what I want to do. This is what I'm passionate about. This is my purpose and what I was called to do. And if I get staked at the cross for calling out the champ, then I guess I'm staked at the cross. But at the end of the day, I will turn these people out, and they will be on my side when I do get my hand raised in victory. It's only a matter of time.
Hopefully we're gonna have our media team send this to Uncle Dana and make sure he makes the fight happen to whatever extent he can.
I know. I'm so mad at him.
Come on, Uncle Dana, you got to make it happen. Julianna, so obviously we still want you on the show, but obviously with the fight, I'm hoping for the best, and I'm hoping that you can get the fight soon, and I hope you get good news soon. And obviously, entertaining fighter, obviously a friend, so we want you to get the fight, and we're here for you, rooting for you.
Thank you.
No problem. And then on the other hand, you mentioned a few things that I want to kind of dig into. So I'm assuming you were like in your early 20s when you were on The Ultimate Fighter. Is that correct?
Yep.
Now, again, you're talking about mindset. Talk about now to the young people out there who are watching, who may not be athletes or MMA fighters, but maybe they're aspiring entrepreneurs. Maybe they're people who are in medical school. Maybe they're individuals who are still in college. Talk about getting out of your comfort zone to live in a house with strangers. And having cameras in front of you and being in positions where you're not always comfortable, but then grinding out over all that time to become the winner of The Ultimate Fighter. Like, talk about some of the, I don't want specific details if you can't get into it, but just how did you get through those moments of being uncomfortable and having to be comfortable with strangers and having to just navigate all these different situations and relationships?
Sure. So there's a few things that I want to touch on. Number one, whether you are a professional fighter or not, everybody can understand fighting, because whether you got mad at your sister or you want to punch your coworker in the face, or, you didn't want to physically hurt somebody, but you were fighting with them mentally or emotionally, whatever it is, everybody fighting is universal. Everybody can understand fighting, and that's why people want to watch it, and that's what draws people to it. They want to see the train wreck. They want to see the chaos. They're drawn to fighting because whether they're a fighter or not, they have at one point or another felt that urge to fight back. And so I think that's what makes fighting so alluring. With that being said, I was doing 3 different things before I joined the Ultimate Fighter. I was a server full-time, I was going to college full-time, and I was trying to be an MMA fighter full-time. I had my hand in 20 different baskets. And my coach said, listen, do you want to be the best server in the world, or do you want to be the best fighter in the world? Because you got to cut some of this stuff out. School will always be there. You're done waiting tables. Put all your attention and focus into fighting, and you will be successful. And it wasn't until I actually did that I did to start finding some success in MMA. And at that time, he was the only one that told me that Dana was going to allow women in the UFC one day. And I didn't believe him. And he ended up being right. And that was when Dana was like, women are going to be on the UFC. And he's like, I knew it. This is your chance. And so one of the major things that I think that everybody can relate to, especially entrepreneurs, is risk versus reward. And you have to be willing to go out there and stick your neck out there, fight for every square inch, and go and take the risk. And you know, the opportunities are going to come. If you're fearful of the opportunities, if you're fearful for stepping out on that ledge, and if you're not comfortable growing, then you're always going to be stagnant, staying in the same spot. You're always going to not take the risk to go a little further, you know? So it's all about what is it that you want to be successful in, putting all your focus in that, and then going out there and taking the risk and betting it all on yourself. And that is what I did. I 100% focused on fighting. I bet on myself, and I put all the risk into going out there and having these cameras follow you around for 6 weeks and watching you, you know, take showers and go to the bathroom, and, you know, getting cut off from my family, and no cell phones, no music, no books, nothing, you know. Being on that show was very difficult, but there was absolutely nothing that could shift my mindset. I had my blinders on, as a horse does when they're racing in a race, and I completely continued to look forward until I got to the finish line, and until I got my hand raised. And it was that mental focus, I think, that carried me all the way through.
Let me get Chris, if you want to put him on mute. Chris, any follow up to that?
Nothing.
so let me keep asking then. So in terms of when you were in the Ultimate Fighter and you said you had the blinders on and your focus, is your focal endpoint, I'm gonna get out of the Ultimate Fighter and win, or is it I'm gonna be champion one day? Like what were you focusing on?
I was going to win the show, and after I won the show, I spoke to Rhonda at the after party, and I was like, we're gonna fight. And she was like, yeah, we are. And she was like, I'm going to give you a tougher fight than Misha Tate could ever dream about. And she said, when that time comes, I'm still going to kick your ass. And I told her, I said, we'll see. And then when I won the Ultimate Fighter, I called out Rhonda. I wanted to fight her, and she never wanted to fight me either. I mean, I don't know how many times I won after that, where I was continuing to call out Rhonda to fight her, and she didn't want no smoke either. So it's just, I think it's me. I think they have a personal vendetta against me personally. And so it's just, my sight has always been on getting that 12 pounds of gold around my waist, and I'll be damned. I'm going to give them hell or die trying until I make that happen.
Fascinating. I mean, I don't know if it's personal. It could be a mix of personal and like also, you know, being afraid to lose, right? It could be a multitude of things instead of just personal, because like Chris alluded to earlier, and as you did, like it's all also about the money, right? So even if they're afraid, but it could bring them money, I don't think they would turn it down also because there's money to be made. But I think there's also some fear of your fighting style. So I think it's a mix of things.
I do too. And I also feel like for some reason, for me especially, I always get the feeling like they're okay with losing, but they just don't want to lose to me. Like for some reason, it's like a personal thing where it's like, okay, yeah, I can lose, but I'll be damned if I lose to Julianna. Not that girl, not her, you know? And so when I do win against these girls, they're like shocked, you know what I mean? They're literally like, no. But I mean, I can't speak for all of them. That's just how it feels. That's what it seems like.
Go ahead, Chris.
Well, yeah. I get why it could seem that way, but man, I don't know why anybody would feel that way about you. I'll tell you a funny story. When she came to jiu-jitsu one time, either I went there and she was there, or she was at the gym with me and I said, let's go, or I don't remember what brought us there, but I remember, and this is going to sound stupid, but I remember thinking like, you don't want to be a bad training partner, right? and you don't want to hurt the other person. They're loaning you your body. You don't want to injure them, especially an athlete like her, because this is her livelihood. This is how she makes her money. So I remember thinking originally, like, I'm going to go about 50%. And so I'm going 50. And then I'm like, all right, I'm going 60%. And then I'm like, I'm 75%. And then I'm like, I'm 100%. And I'm still getting my ass whooped. And then I'm like, she's really good at jujitsu, man. You know?
How long have you been doing jiu-jitsu, by the way, Chris, so people know?
Since 2005. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, I'm not just saying that either, man, because then after that, because I also remember after that when I rolled with her, you're always thinking you don't want to hurt somebody. It doesn't matter what the gender is, but so that never leaves your mind, or at least it shouldn't, because you know that's what a good training partner should be. But I do remember thinking, I'm not going 50%. I'm not thinking the same way that I did from the first time I rolled with her. I'm going pretty much all out, without, you know, trying to, you know, do something to somebody. Like today, some guy put me in a knee bar, and he put it on me really, really fast. And so, you know, when certain things like that, you're like, dude, I hope you just didn't shred my knee. And right. I'm fine. But there are certain submissions where if you do it too fast, too explosively, too hard, you can ruin somebody, you know?
Right.
Julian, I want you to give. So I'm going to use this for my basketball team. So, give some advice to these 16-year-old individuals who they're in love with the sport, but at times they're not practicing every day. Sometimes the attention to detail is not there. Also, I'm going to call them out. I hope they don't mind. But for example, like after we had a hard practice on Sunday, and you know what I saw, they thought we left, so they came out after us, and they had like nachos. They got nachos from where we were practicing. And they were drinking like sugary drinks and all that. So what like comprehensive advice would you give to individuals who just don't like a sport and want to kind of lackadaisically play it, but they're aspiring to get better at that sport?
Look, one of the things that drove me crazy playing basketball in high school was the lack of the care. Like, I'm out here and I'm trying, and now I got a teammate who's not focused, not using their body to their potential, meaning that this girl was a skyscraper and she had about the aggression of a pink bunny rabbit. And I was just like, get aggressive, act like you care, quit wasting my time. Do you want to win or not? So if these people are doing that, I would say expect to get benched then. I really don't waste my time, you know, like, because you are here taking the time. You got a big family, Imran. You are here taking the time out of your day to put attention to these kids, and don't waste your time. You know what I mean? If you really don't care, then just don't show up. You know what I mean? First off. Second off, how lucky are you that you get your season back? Do you know that our whole country was just shut down for like a year and is still shut down? There's some places that they were their senior years projected to be state champions in wrestling, and they got their entire senior year of wrestling taken away because of this pandemic. You're lucky that you get to play on a basketball team. You're lucky that your parents care enough to put you in this basketball team and that they allow you to do this extracurricular activity. There's some kids as parents that don't give two licks about them and don't care about putting them in any single sport. So I guess I would say be grateful for the fact that you're even on the basketball court and that you even get past the ball and that the ball is in your hand. Have a little appreciation a little bit for your parents and for the life that you're living to even be able to do this in this time that we're living in. Third, I would say, you know, I think I already said it before. If you don't want to be here, you know, you're not going to hurt my feelings. Just go, you know, like, just don't waste my time, because I want to work with winners. I want to work with people who care. I want to work with people that want to win and appreciate what we're doing here. And if that's not you, then maybe you're not suited to be on the team. You know what I mean? And then I would just say, care for your body. There's so many things. This whole COVID thing, it's been horrible, right? But there's so many people that die from obesity every year too. And there's so many people that die from, you know, cancers and stuff like that. Be mindful what you're putting in your body, because your body is, like they always say, it's like a race car. And it's important what kind of fuel you use to fuel your race car. You want to make sure that you're fueling your body with good stuff. You know, if you're going to eat chips, try to make them healthy chips instead of, you know, a bag of potato chips that are, yeah, I get that they're good. I get it. And I get that not everybody has, the money to be buying expensive stuff, but just try to be a little bit more mindful. And that I'm a little bit more lax too, because I'm like, they're kids, you know what I mean? They're going to eat, some bad stuff, but at least try to make a conscious effort what you are putting into your body. And then I would just say, if you are going to play hard, play to win. And, if you don't win them all, that's fine. You're not going to win them all. But at least try, give your best effort. And I think that giving your best effort is probably the best thing that I can say. A for effort is always important.
Thank you so much. They're good. They're good guys. They come into practice. They're working hard, but it's just some of the habits are taking time to break, and especially when it comes to the diet and the nutrition and the rest and whatnot. But obviously, we've all been teenagers, and you know how that is. You feel invincible, and you feel you can overcome anything. But it's about now taking it to the next level. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, Julianna Peña, 6th ranked bantamweight fighter of the UFC. Hopefully, God willing, going to be getting a championship fight soon. And Chris Grayson, my esteemed co-host of Ascend Perform, a trainer of champions, someone who I've worked with personally who's helped me a lot. So, Julianna, thank you for taking out the time. I really hope that not only do you get the fights that you want, but you get the victories that you want. And hopefully we can have you on again.
Yeah, I would love to come on. Just shout out to Chris Grayson real quick, the best strength and conditioning trainer that I've ever had in my entire life. And I've been doing this for a while. So
Thanks,
I miss you,
Julianna.
buddy. I miss you, buddy.
too.
I wish you were still here. I feel lost without you. But looking forward to working with you guys again in the future, definitely.
Awesome. Chris, any last words for you, man? You've been awfully quiet, so I want to give you the last word if you got one.
Well, yeah. After Julianna says everything, she sounds like a motivational speaker right now. I have nothing to add. I'm like, my God, this sounds like Tony Robbins right now. Like, then you ask me to add something. I'm like, I got nothing.
You should pull a Luke Rockhold. Remember when he was like, if you believe it, you can achieve it.
Achieve it. What did he say?
And then Michael Bisping got on.
Dude, that was hilarious. Dana White fell apart when he said that. That was great. Steve, believe. I should have said that. That'd have been funny as hell.
So, guys, you stay on. I'm going to end the show. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Khalid, Amir from the DFW, Dallas MMA, UFC fight fans of that I watched the fights with. They're on watching now, commenting in the comments. Thank you guys for listening. And we'll see everybody next week. Thank you.
I'll see you later, guys. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Give us